I've tried to study astrocartography since I'm a Sagittarius and the road is my home, but I'm stepping into the Taurus rising and I'm like, I want a landing pad. I want a place where I know around what month the tulips come up. I want a place that's my bathtub, my yard. Oh, what was that?
Oh my God.
What
Fell off the wall.
Has that ever happened before?
No.
Is it our power? Is it my voice? I watched that and we're going to keep this rolling. We're keeping it.
It's a poster that says Athens, Greece. So I think we need to look at Athens, Greece.
That's weird. Did it shatter?
No.
Okay, good. Good. But guys, welcome to just a real-time recording of Lightworkers Lounge. I have friend and astrologer KJ Atlas here. She's phenomenal. She has done such incredible work in her astrology career. You've written for Jan Spiller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I love you. And when we started talking and becoming friends, I was just like, this is destined. And you're like, I've said this before, you're my cosmic big sister. There's just so much depth and trust and love there. And I appreciate you.
Depth, trust, and love. You know the way to my Scorpio moon, don't you?
I do. I speak that language of my Cancer 8th house moon.
I do. Last summer, we were exchanging audio messages and I just felt such a soul connection with you. Like you said, it just feels like there's an immediate form of depth and trust. And like our souls' paths have been aligned. It's almost like we grew up together. Yeah. Like we're sisters. Effortless.
Yeah, totally. It's pretty weird.
Yeah. So I love that you're on the show. Welcome to the lounge.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is like a dream. Like it feels very dreamy today. I know it's a Scorpio moon, but we're here together and it feels dreamy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to dive into the astrocartography. So you guys always, I'm an astrologer as well. And I really focus on relationship readings. It's my bread and butter. Of course, my son's in the 7th house. Let's talk about love. But a lot of people, have said, can you look at my astrocartography chart? And while I know a little bit about it, honestly, it's never made sense to me, KJ. My sun line goes through New Hampshire, and everyone here knows I grew up in New Hampshire, and it's not my thing. It's oil and water. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'd love to go there for a summer vacation. But when I'm there, I just don't feel the sun. Metaphorically, I don't feel alive. Did you look at that on my chart?
Yeah, I have an answer for you.
Does it make sense?
It makes so much sense.
And then like I went on my Venus line, it goes through Panama City Beach, Florida. And that's where my partner and I had the most power struggles ever. And I remember thinking, wait, it's supposed to be blissful here. What's going on?
Yeah.
So KJ,
you know what I think it is? I think astrocartography is flawed.
Is it?
Yeah, because, I consider myself a locational astrologer. And astrocartography is one of those techniques. And it was ahead of its time when it became popularized in the 70s. Yeah. But it's a starting point and it's a summary. And to really get the big picture, you have to pull what are called relocated charts, which is a chart that you cast if hypothetically you had been born in New Hampshire versus Indiana. And none of the placements of the planets change. So you need to make sure your moon's at the same degree. But the rising sign and the midheaven are going to shift like on a dial. It's going to go clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on if you go east or west. And that's where you get all the information.
Oh my gosh. So is there a difference between astrocartography and locational astrology?
Astrocartography is the foam on top. It's the high level summary. It's like, if I want to scan the map all around the world and be like, okay, where's somewhere I can start to narrow this down? I will start with the map and then I'll start pulling relocated charts for different places within that region. That's going to give a lot of nuance, because if you think about it, the astrocartography map is just showing planets that are now more pronounced because they're on the ascendant, the midheaven, the descendant, or the IC. But it's not going to show you what is going on in these other houses. It's not going to show you what the relocated rising sign is, and then what that ruler is. Like there's a lot of information that's not on the map, and we have to go deeper.
The foam on top. You're speaking to me. That is such a good analogy. That's like, if you guys follow KJ on Instagram, you're at kj.atlas, right? Is that what it is?
KJ.Atlas. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fakes.
Yeah, I know it's so bad, but you made these reels like every single day. You would post one of these reels and you would use these beautiful clips of just like the small things in life that mean so much. And you would describe each day's flavor through aesthetics and descriptions like silky red lace, hot coconut latte. And it was so beautiful.
You're
You're
making me want to
so
bring it back.
I mean, I know it's probably, I used to tell you, like, girl, that's a lot of work. The fact that you show up every single day and you're spot on with the aesthetics, whew, it's a lot, but you're so gifted at it. I bet you just
Thanks.
loved it. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bring it back in some capacity. I have to, because,
Yeah.
but it's not something I can outsource to someone else. Like, do this
No,
content for me, you know?
it's your gift. Absolutely. And you also do auras, right?
Yeah, I have
Aura based off of,
synesthesia.
yeah. What is that? Tell us.
It's when your neurons get crossed when you process input. So my Mercury is trine Neptune. So if you know astrology, just think about like my mental filter is rainbow and fruity. And
I love that.
um it's like a candy shop. So I might just be writing a paper, writing an essay, you know, doing my taxes, and certain words will just pop up as different colors in the mind's eye or different flavors. And I've noticed, depending on different transit days, like if it's a high Neptune day or if I'm having Neptune conjunct my Mercury, it's a lot. I'll be like, whoa, that just took me to another dimension.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll be really nice. Like, oh, that tastes like roses, or that tastes like salmon nigiri. It's really random. And sometimes I'm like, wow, that tastes like sweat socks. Pivot.
I don't know what it is in my chart, but when I read those things, I'm like, she is so spot on with the little things like a green fern leaf. I mean, the detail of what you write, and then the video, sometimes the song with it. You're so gifted. And you
Thanks.
create, do you still create the aura paintings or based off
Yeah.
of someone's birth chart?
Yeah.
What
The
is
last
that?
one I did was for a couple for their wedding, which was really cool. And they were going to incorporate some of those colors into their flower bouquets,
Yeah.
which was so tangible. And I was in love with that idea. But I love it for babies too. Like, obviously, you have to do it once the baby's born, but getting the print and then bringing those colors into their nursery, there's so
Yeah.
many different ways. And it's really fun to make those. And I started getting them printed.
Yeah.
And
Do you
yeah.
do it based off of their birth chart?
Yeah. So when I read a birth chart, I get a flood of colors and flavors. And it's because of that. Um, Temple Grandin, who's, you know, extremely famous, has autism. I don't. I have ADHD, but I'm
Yeah.
on the neurodivergent spectrum
Yeah.
because of this. Synesthesia is part of that.
Yeah.
And so, in similar ways, I see things in pictures and patterns and colors. So, when I'm reading charts to people, and sometimes I'll share this, but I'll get these like pictures and downloads of like water faucets or like feathers or random things. And then it's like a puzzle for me to be like, okay, that's what this means. And it's just a different way of translating the chart. So it's not like I didn't even think it was a gift. I still am like up for debate on whether it's a gift. It's just like the language that I perceive things. And then it just
Oh,
kind of shuffles into this puzzle.
I love it. I love it. When you look at my chart, what's the first color or object that comes to you?
Oh, you're such a pink indigo. And I don't know
Oh,
why, but you're like this mix of like indigo and like hot pink and like rose. I think it's because of your like Aries, Mars, and then like your Taurus. But then all your Scorpio is just like so indigo.
yeah. So deep. And my
Yeah.
moon conjunct Pluto, conjunct Venus to the degree.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh. I remember before I knew about the rest of my chart, all I knew was I was the Sagittarius. I remember I always said, I don't like Scorpios. They're too serious. They just won't let loose and let go. And so I had the biggest identity crisis when I realized my entire chart is 8th house Scorpio.
You got slapped in the face real hard.
Big time. But then it was also beautiful because I was like, okay, well, if they like trigger me or just turn me off of that way, it's probably something I need to incorporate and
Yeah.
accept about my own self. And so that's why I got that Scorpio moon tattoo to remind me, like, hey, incorporate your dark side,
Yes.
incorporate your big, intense emotions, which is still something I struggle with. When I share intense emotions, like, I notice my audience gets really worried about me and like literally checks up on me and says, like, do you need help? Here's a
Oh.
hotline. And I'm like, no, I mean, thank you. That's so kind. But I feel so deeply.
Do you get vulnerability hangovers?
Oh my God. I literally just last night was like, I'm deleting the podcast. I'm not doing readings anymore unless they find me on a farm. And I'm just going to dig in the dirt and plant things. And that's it. No more vulnerability. Oh, it's because I read one of my bad podcast reviews and I just spun out.
Oh God,
Rule
trolls.
number one, don't do that. You know. Yeah.
Don't do
Yeah.
that. Yeah. If you had actually decided that and stuck with it today, which by the way, being your lunar return, it's a reset. So
Yeah.
cancel that. Stephanie's not going anywhere. I'm not letting you go anywhere.
Thank you. I needed to hear. I know. I do
I will
have
come
some
find your ass on the farm. Get on the mic.
now. I'm going to just record you. What's it like to plant this corn? Well, yes, but speaking of farm, so I'm taking a little Steph sabbatical, we're gonna call it, where I need to go be alone. I want to go see my family. I really miss my mom. And so I am heading to Indiana. And that just jumps us right into the astrocartography. So, guys, KJ here pulled my chart. She has been studying my astrocartography. And I think the audience is really going to resonate because they've been cheering for me to go back to Key West since 2018. And
Yeah.
so, guys, KJ's going to dive in. She's going to show us, why do I have that draw to Key West? Why am I the Key West girl? Why do I go through a divorce in Denver and Colorado and Indiana? We'll see what the energy is over there.
I just got so excited once I pulled up all the relocated charts. And also when I used the harmonious and disharmonious aspects on the cartography map, because they are small but mighty. Do not underestimate the power of a moon square midheaven or a moon square ascendant line. No one likes living on those. And that is exactly what you had in New Hampshire.
Moon square ascendant and midheaven.
Yeah. So it's a blue line, just like the moon lines,
Yeah.
but it's the moon and it's the box, the square, and it says MC. And then you also have the Venus square MC. Yeah. And the easiest way I would say this shows up, and you were a kid.
Yeah.
So moon square midheaven is like family obligations and like struggles with expressing yourself. There's a conflict between who your soul is and who you're supposed to be. And the sun line is actually the sun descendant line. So that's not an incorporated sun. That's good if you're a fully formed adult and you have an identity and you want to meet your other half. But as a kid, it lets you or encourages you and almost forces you to outsource your identity to your peers and your family. And so it can really feel like you don't know who you are and you just feel icky.
100%. I wanted to be a DJ. As soon as I could, I left because I was like, I can't be myself here. My mom says, go to college. What are you doing? What are you studying? And I'm like, nothing. I'm going to be a DJ. But it's like, you don't do that. I remember she said, Steph, can you be a DJ and be pregnant and a wife at 3 a.m. at the club? And I knew I wanted all those things because all the Venus Scorpio was like, I want to mate for life with someone. But yeah, you're right, Mom. I guess I'll go to business school. I guess I'll just go suffer in silence in accounting class and do what society tells me to do. And so that's just the energy I associate with New Hampshire is I can't reach my highest potential.
Yeah. It's so wild because you're midheaven here, like you're relocated midheaven, which doesn't change, by the way. So just want to reiterate, if you're looking at a relocated chart and you see that your rising sign changes, it doesn't mean that you're not the rising sign that you were born with.
Yeah.
It's a filter. It adds another layer. So when I moved to the West Coast, my Sagittarius rising got a little more scorpionic, and then I got tattoos and piercings. But I'm still a Sag rising with bright colors and, funky hair and all of that, and still sad rising, just like you are still a Taurus rising.
Yeah.
But in Manchester, New Hampshire,
Yeah.
you have a Gemini rising chart, which is going to make Mercury stronger. And your Mercury's in Sag and it's in the 7th house. So there's more of that outsourcing.
Yeah.
And your midheaven is in Aquarius, which is probably why you want to rebel and feel like you want to go be a DJ. And it's in conflict with your Venus and your moon in 6th house Scorpio, which is day-to-day routines, be the Stepford housewife. And Aquarius midheaven is like, I want a mohawk and be a DJ.
Yeah. 100%. There's nothing else to say besides 100%. When I'm in New Hampshire, I can't work. I can't be myself. Although I will say, when I just had, so they know my story. I got divorced. I had all my ducks in a row. I had a job lined up. I had money and I moved to the Florida Keys, but I ended up getting scammed by someone down there renting me a space. And then the company I was working for went under and said, sorry guys, we filed bankruptcy. So I was just like, holy shit. And I had no choice but to go back home and live with my mom in New Hampshire. And I thought at the time, like, I just need the comfort of home because I do love my mom. She's very safe. And also to just financially get back on my feet because I had all my money given to someone and it was just a mess. And so when I went there with Lightworkers Lounge, I remember I applied for like 90 jobs in the Manchester area, just like from serving to admin, whatever, and not a single call back. And so I had a little coming to Jesus moment where I said, this door won't open and I would be insane to keep knocking on it. I was just in the beginning stages of Lightworkers Lounge, was not making any money from it. So I said, why don't I treat just for a week? I'm going to treat it like it's my 9 to 5. And so I made a little time card in my mom, like my old childhood bedroom that was just filled with boxes and crap. And I clocked in at 9 a.m. and all I did was post on Lightworkers Lounge for 8 hours. I took a lunch break and sat in the backyard with my mom's cats, like, okay. And then I clock in literally like a 9 to 5. It's so funny how you can place that much energy into somebody else's business, but not your own. But once I switched that, then all of a sudden Lightworkers Lounge grew by 2,000, 3,000 people a week.
That's wild.
I
think it takes that. It takes it. But
Right?
good for you for doing it.
Yeah. And so somehow in New Hampshire, I said, fuck this energy. I'm making it happen. And then in 8 months, I was back up on my feet and I left as soon as I could.
Wow. Good for you.
But
It's not the place for you. Even like now that you're an adult and you're not a kid, like it's still never going to be the place because it's almost, there's a few lines that most people don't like living on long term. And it's usually Pluto, it's usually Saturn and Moon square midheaven. I don't know. This minor line is powerful.
Yeah.
It just, people don't like it.
They don't, right? Do I have any lines that go through Austin, Texas?
Let's look.
Because shout out to Austin. We got a lot of listeners there, but that's another place that I just feel like I'm wearing a straitjacket.
Well, it's a Saturn line. Exactly. It's a favorable Saturn line, but if you know that Saturn lines are favorable, Saturn is like making a dentist appointment, right?
Where you got to go. Fine, I'll do the adulting.
Yeah.
It's just not a fun place for me to be.
Yeah, because Austin has such a fun energy. Like Willie Nelson says, the closer you get to Austin, the more you feel freedom. But your chart is like the more you feel straight-laced and like you need to cross your legs.
Yes. Yeah, where there's no fun, no freedom. I didn't feel creative there at all.
What do you think about New Orleans?
I don't know what it is, but every single psychic, intuitive astrologer has asked me, why haven't you been to New Orleans? And honestly, my thoughts about it growing up were always it's scary, probably influenced by the news and shit like that. But I've always just associated it with like black magic. And I'm like, I'm a Sag, free spirit in the house of Libra. I just want to go where it's sunny. And but as I'm maturing and really accepting my Scorpio side, I have had such a draw to just show up there.
I mean, I would go take protection and stuff, when it comes to like you're protecting your auric field and things, but because it's close to this like moon descendant line, but it's on the east side of it. But what caught my eye is this favorable Jupiter line. So you would have a Capricorn midheaven that trines your Jupiter
Yeah.
in Taurus.
Yeah.
So I feel like this would be good for business. Like just go to a conference there.
Ooh, okay.
Get to know some witches in New Orleans.
Some witch. get, get to know some witches and bitches in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel that. Like, I want to take a girls' trip there, or, we're setting up our first astrology retreat right now, and maybe it should be in New Orleans.
I'm so there. Let's go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I've heard that many a times, and this is just more
Weird.
confirmation that maybe this Steph sabbatical I'm taking, I should just go down there by myself for a weekend, feel it out.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
it.
I
I
mean,
would do it.
the ultimate question is, what is my draw to Key West? Why do I feel like I'm just walking in a rainbow the whole time when I'm there?
All right. This is when the relocated charts come into play. I mean, if you look at the map, you're like, okay, this is kind of close to this like Mars sextile your midheaven. So your Mars is fairly well placed in Aries. It's strong, it's potent, it gives you a lot of vitality. It's square Neptune, so some of that is lost, but I think when you channel your direction towards spiritual things, they integrate nicely.
Yeah.
So you're under some of that here. But what blew my mind was the relocated chart. And so this will get a little advanced, but I'm going to do my best to explain it in the most fifth grader way.
Bring it on. We got it.
All right, here we go. When I look at the relocated chart for Key West, you have 3 yods. So you know what a yod is? That little thing that
Finger
looks
of
like an ice cream
God.
cone? Yes. Yeah.
Oh, you gotta send me a screenshot of this so I can print it and
Oh, I
get it
will.
tattooed on my chest.
The pattern in the aspect pattern is kind of wild because you have the mystic rectangle already, but then there's like this cone. It's like a star that comes out of it. And you have 3 different ones. So the first one is between your Mars and your midheaven. So that's that line that we see there. And we're like, okay, we see that on the astrocartography map. But the apex of it is your South Node and Lilith in Virgo. And I don't know what you think about this, but immediately I'm like, you are probably a high priestess maiden in a past life with that kind of aspect. What do you think about that? Your South Node, Lilith, and Virgo?
Yeah, I've heard that many a times. Someone came on and read my Akashic records and said I was like the biggest person of the water women of Atlantis. I was like the leader of that. And so many people were like, I know in a past life, I lived in your female clan with water in the Caribbean, Atlantis, things like that.
Well, yeah, that would make sense because I feel like when the way that I look at the South Node, being someone who is one of the Jen Spiller descendants of the line of evolutionary astrology with the nodes, I look at node stuff on the astrocartography chart as places where you have definitely had past lives or really deep ancestry. And so whether it was actually Key West or whether that little block of land that is now Key West was related to something down there in the Caribbean and Atlantis, you've lived there before. 1000%.
I knew it. Someone else told me in my last life, I was a very famous jazz singer, like 1920s flapper. And that was very big in Key West. So maybe I was like a live singer down there.
Well, it's in the 5th house, which is the house of theater.
Yeah.
For like, I look at it as theater because that's where I have my placements and I'm a theater kid. So
yeah.
Yeah. Either one of those sounds right.
Yes. I knew it.
Okay. The other yod deposits at the apex is at your midheaven in Aquarius. And the base of it is Chiron in Cancer. And then the same South Node Lilith. If that is not, I'm an astrologer / healer, and this is a place where I really come into my power. I don't know what is.
What is? See, I'm telling you something. This is so validating for me because so many people have told me, like, you need to have your lunch packed before you move to Key West, meaning you need to have money because that place is expensive and you need to do this. Or, hey, how about you just retire there when you're older? And I've tried to say, like, I know it's expensive. It's this, it's that. But when I'm there, I will be awake until 3 a.m. writing, creating, and then get up for sunrise at 5:30 feeling ready to go.
Yeah. No, I'm not a fan of that. People always tell me you need to have savings. I'm like, for what? The
For
world's
what?
crumbling anyway.
And right in retirement 401k, of course, yes, I know. We know fine lines is that these are adulting things to do, but that's like guaranteeing you're going to live that long. I could die
Yeah.
after this podcast. How do you know that? I want to live today. How do
Yeah.
you cast those charts? Is what you did essentially just take my original birthday, but change it from Evansville, Indiana to Key West?
Yeah, but you have to change the time for the time zone if there is a change.
Oh, oh, so like I'm 3:01 p.m. CST, but it would be 4:01 in Key West.
Yeah. So what would work? What I think works really well is just using an online calculator. When I'm calculating a
Ah,
million of these, I use an online calculator. And
yeah,
the horoscope
yeah,
AstroSeek guy, I love him. I think he has the best software. I
yeah,
use it for my readings because being neurodivergent, I love that it's like color coded and it's very clear and it's the
yeah.
lines are decisive and I just love it. And he has a calculator on that website
And
for
what's it called?
relocation chart. And his
Relocation chart.
website is
Okay.
horoscope.astro-seek.
Okay. Got it. Wow. And is there one more yawn? You said there's three?
Yeah. So the other one deposits at your IC in Leo, which is like home. So
Yeah.
you have a yod that deposits at the midheaven, and then in your fifth house south node Lilith, and then your IC in Leo. And then the base of that is your north node in Pisces and your Neptune in Capricorn. It's like, no wonder you're meant to be a powerhouse and, share deep from the heart stories that encourage people to find their own way and awaken in their own way. Like they just make so much sense.
Wow. And it all stems from being down there. So if I were to host, let's say, an astrology retreat in Key West, I would just be like a goddess rising out of her power in the water. Like, this is my place.
Absolutely. And you have your Jupiter in the first house. It's great. I think it's great. And you mentioned Fort Mill, South Carolina was also a place that you've lived and had
Yes.
a good experience.
Yeah, I love it. It
Okay.
just feels like a hot cup of tea.
I
I love it.
love that. You're speaking my language. This is also a place where you have a lot of those yachts.
Ooh,
And you also have Jupiter pretty close to the ascendant here. And I love your Jupiter. I think it's one of the best. Like you could go to Jupiter lines. Like you have my permission to just go to Jupiter lines and you'll probably feel really good. Now, everyone wants to go to their Venus line. Not everyone should go to their Venus line because yours is conjunct your moon, conjunct Pluto in Scorpio. You have to take into consideration, like, is the planet in fall or detriment? Is it heavily aspected in a way
yeah.
that's challenging? Because that means it might not be assimilated in your psyche. And when you go there, it's going to get assimilated real fast.
Oh, extreme. I couldn't wait to get out of Panama City Beach for that.
Where your Venus line
Woo!
is.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm embarrassed that I didn't take that into account. I was just looking at it so black and white. Like if your Venus line means you might find love, go be there without taking into account my personal chart and how Venus is lovely. Yes. But when she's in Scorpio, when she's conjunct the Pluto, like, oof.
Yeah. And it might be easier for you now because you've done all this work and you've like,
Yeah.
you had the fight with your ex, like you've gone through these things and you've kind of
Yeah.
experienced it. So maybe it's easier now if you were to go back, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would definitely try it again just to see how it feels.
Yeah.
That's
But
so
your
cool.
Jupiter line, just to throw this out there, you do have a Jupiter that would put Jupiter in your house of relationships.
Oh,
So going to the Jupiter line where it's supporting your relationships is good for that thing. And that runs through Bali, Borneo, the Philippines, South Korea.
wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
Romantic getaway, really far
Oh,
away.
wow. Oh, that's really cool. I've never been over there, but I would love to visit. Sagittarius here.
I know. Yeah, good for the soul.
Ooh. Is there anywhere in the US that my Jupiter line goes through?
Yeah, so you have the ascendant Jupiter line that is really tightly close to Wilmington, North Carolina, and then all the way down the Carolina coast
Yeah.
where you've lived.
Yeah,
And you said,
Charleston.
Charleston, Fort Mills. And Charleston's right on that Mars midheaven line. So
Ooh.
you mentioned there was some kind of challenge there. What was that?
Oh, and Charleston, I love it. Oh my gosh, that place is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I just love it. But when I was there, I literally had like issues with my brain, like on a physical sense, but it was both physical and emotional, where
Mm.
I remember I was in IIN, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, getting my holistic health certificate. And when I would play my videos for school, I could listen, but I couldn't digest. Like I could play 10
Wow.
seconds, stop. And if someone said, "What'd you just learn?" I couldn't. And then I had a lot of issues like with tingling and burning in my brain to where I literally thought, because my brother has it, that I was developing epilepsy.
Oh no.
And I would have these weird visions of like the world just all of a sudden flipping upside down. And so I started to become afraid of like the sky. I used to think, what if the sun never comes back up? Just very bizarre things.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
absolutely. Well, I think one thing is that the timing that you told me you were there, you were having your lunar node opposition,
Yeah. Yeah.
which usually for the signs that you have it, Virgo and Pisces, can trigger things physically in the body.
Yeah.
And then when I think of like what you're describing, it gives a very Aquarius Pisces flavor, like the neurological
Yeah.
piece, in contrast with like the very mercurial
Yeah.
piece, which would be like Virgo. And then when you're in Charleston on that Mars MC sextile, even though it's a positive line, you still have an exact square between your Neptune. And so I feel like coupled with tough transits during that time, like preparing you for your Saturn return,
Oh my God.
it might have been a timing thing. And that is a big factor that is
Yeah.
important to look at, because it's not
Yeah.
always the place. Sometimes you're just in a really bad time. And no matter where you go, it's going to suck
It's
to
going to
some
be tough.
degree.
Yeah, because that's also where I lost both of my cats in one day in a freak accident
Oh
while my then husband was in LA, so the absolute farthest place away, and I was alone. I had no family, no friends because we had just moved there, and I had to go put down one of my cats because I woke up and her diabetes just was killing her. And so I left Jeffrey, who was in like an 8-week-old puppy, and the door was cracked open and my other cat just took off. And so I lost both of them in
oh my
one
God.
day and just went, yeah. Oh, sometimes I wonder if I have a voodoo doll out there and somebody is poking it, because I've had these little bursts in my life of things like that where I'm like, why? Just why?
My jaw has not come up off the floor. Wow. I mean, you're a manifester. You probably piss people off with your magnetic energy. I love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I love
Yeah.
manifestors, but some people can't handle it.
They can't. No. And you pair that with all the Scorpio in me, right? I think
Uh,
I'm so thank goodness for some Sag in there.
yeah, it keeps you light and buoyant.
In the Taurus rising. But yeah, I do find that people are very drawn to me, but then when they get to know me, I can kind of scare them. I'm not mean. I'm just intense. I'm like you. I
That's
love
so
it too.
funny.
I just love it.
It's so funny. I've never felt that about you, but I guess everybody has their own experiences, and
Yeah.
you might be bringing, I love Plutonian energy. Like my son's
Yeah.
opposite Pluto, my moon's in the eighth
Yeah.
house with Lilith. And like, give me the gore, but I guess
Oh
people,
yeah.
most people don't like that.
Yeah. No, the deep. Sometimes in my past relationships and even friendships, people have been like, why were you friends with that person after they've done this and that and that? And they're just like, you are such like a lighthearted woohoo person. I don't understand your draw. And I think that's my Scorpio DC.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
people who, yeah, have addictions, who have really deep mental health struggles. I'm just drawn to things like that. That sounds so toxic to say out loud, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I know
Yeah.
it. I know it. I know it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, I crave the deep. I crave the dark. I'm so
Yeah.
curious about the psychology of human experiences.
Yeah. I wonder if that's why you're able to actually handle being close to Pluto lines more than other people. Because when you're on,
Ah,
well, let's say like when you're in Charleston, like you're still under the influence of a Pluto descendant line,
yeah.
even though it's pretty spacious and Jupiter takes precedent and Mars takes precedent. But I don't know. I wonder. I mean, that's probably why you had the cat incident and a couple of other
Yeah.
things. Maybe it's more assimilated now. When
Yeah.
you're in Key West, you have a lot of space from that, more than Charleston or Wilmington or Fort Mills. So I think that's why it's better. And it is
Yeah.
calling your name and it is your
Yeah.
place.
Oh, if you were to look at all of this stuff going on in my locational charts, Astro, would you literally say Key West is probably the place of
It would have
everywhere?
taken me a little bit of time to compile all this together because you can't see it so much in the map. So what I would have done is like looked at the map and be like, okay, I think I like the southeast for her.
Yeah.
I would have done
Yeah.
that. And then I would have like pulled some of these things and been like, okay, like how can we get a little bit away from the Pluto line? Well, that takes us to like, you know, inland South Carolina,
Yeah.
Georgia, and Florida. And then I would have probably picked a couple of random cities and be like, okay, I like this Mars midheaven, and then kind of gone from there and carved it out. But it does take a lot of time. So what I
Yeah.
like to do is, if people say like I want to know about this place, it's a lot easier to start and narrow things down
To one
from
place.
places. Um, but if you're like, I know I don't want to leave the US, then we can narrow it down from there.
Ah,
And I
that
would
makes
say, okay,
sense.
I really like in all,
Yeah.
I would say being on that moon line in the middle part of the country seems really heavy for
Yeah.
you with Scorpio
Wait,
moon.
the middle part, like you mean Indiana?
No, that would be like Midwest. So that's kind of close to that Venus line. So you're going to get some of that Venus Scorpio.
Okay.
But the moon line is usually what feels heavier for a lot of people. And you have some moon lines that kind of run through Tulsa, Kansas City, Nebraska, and you kind of feel it maybe even over into Colorado, which is where you've been living.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my other question is Colorado because I absolutely love it here. I just look out now into the mountain range and I just can't wait until it's a little bit warmer to go out and
Yeah.
meditate and hike. And they really are just so healing for me. But I do find myself, I mean, I got divorced in Colorado.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's big Plutonian energy. So is there anything with Denver or like the southwest corner of the state where I've lived?
Yeah. Well, I think the moon has range, obviously. And when you're a water moon, you're going to experience the full range, and it can be ecstatic and lovely, and it can be hard and deep. And you have a lot of minor lines running through Colorado. And you said the southwest corner.
Yeah.
So that is more under the Pluto midheaven, but it's a positive Pluto, but it's still a change. It is still the pressure between two rocks. Even though it's leading towards something good, you're still under Pluto energy.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I usually go to the southwest corner, like Telluride, Pagosa Springs, Durango, to
Mm-hmm.
heal. Whenever, like when I had adrenal fatigue, I was like, I need grounding. I need to go hide between two rocks. And so that's usually
Yeah.
where I go. Denver is more like, okay, I'm ready to be social. I'm ready to go out there.
Well,
But
running through Denver, you have a Venus midheaven. So if you think about Pluto
ooh,
midheaven, Pluto visibility versus Venus visibility, you have a Uranus ascendant, which is energetic, um, excitable, and then you have a moon midheaven. Now, this is a good moon line, unlike the one in New Hampshire.
okay.
We're
This
still
feels
working
good.
within the realm of you having a Scorpio moon, so we have to take that into consideration. But
Yeah.
it's a favorable one. It works. It
Yeah.
works a lot better than others.
Oh, that makes sense. I think, doesn't my Pluto line run through Las Vegas? Because I went to school there and it was the best, but also the worst. It was in
Your
2008.
Chiron, your
Oh,
Chiron and Mars. Didn't you say you had adrenal fatigue here?
in Colorado, yeah.
Or in Vegas? Didn't you like get really sick, or not adrenal
Oh,
fatigue, but like exhaustion? Something happened where you got really sick.
I did, but I will. I don't know if that's because I was young, wild, and free, and I would just go out on the strip on my scooter and just drink and then go to class at 7 a.m. But yeah, I got extremely sick. I gained like 20 pounds and I just fell from exhaustion in the nurse's office. And I was like, yeah, definitely got to stop doing this.
One word comes to mind because in Vegas, you are on a Chiron IC, Chiron in your most intimate fourth house point, the wounded healer, and
Ooh.
Mars on your ascendant. And one word comes to mind, and it is fumes, running on fumes.
Yeah, I did so much there. I don't know. I had energy, but I think it was just, you know what it was? I went there because I wanted to open a bed and breakfast in Key West. That was my why. That was my end goal. And
Tourism.
where else to study the best? And I made friends like that. Oh my gosh. I was running an outdoor adventures club. I was a part of the hospitality club. Oh my gosh, just busy 24/7. But once it got too much, it literally was just the world saying,
Yeah, that would be a hard place to live long
yeah.
term.
But that Chiron in the fourth house, when I was there, I had the biggest realization and epiphany about my relationship to my mom. And, you know, she
Oh,
lived in New Hampshire. I was here. I realized that it had been 3 months and she didn't reach out. No
oh,
email, no text. No, and again, it sounds sad, but like this is my Aquarius mom. And I
yeah.
used to ask her, like, dude, I was 18 years old living in Las Vegas. You weren't worried about me? And she's like, no, you've always had your shit together. You've always just been such a leader. I'm not worried about you at all. I knew that if she said, I knew that if you needed me, you'd call. And it's like, okay, I understand that. But at the same time, you know, there was like the
Yeah.
family homecoming weekends where everyone's family would fly in, drive in, but I didn't have that. And so
Yeah.
that was my first realization of like, wait a second, I've always been so prideful about my relationship to my mom, but is it what I think it is?
Oh, if that is not Chiron in Cancer.
In the fourth house.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. How's that for a story?
It's wild.
Yeah. Did you
Wh-
look at Evansville, Indiana, where I was born?
Yeah, so you're close to, well, Evansville, Indiana is your birth chart.
Yeah.
Like it is like that's like wherever you're born is your birth chart. And so we take it back to the roots. That's where, like, when you go back to Evansville, you go back to that original blueprint. What am I here to do? Where are these planets coming through the houses in the most unfiltered way?
Oh,
So what's cool is like you have your Aquarius midheaven at 1 degrees,
yeah.
which I think is going to be really good for your platform and your business when you're
Yeah.
are you going to you're going to Evansville?
Yeah. And what's
Yeah.
funny is it's such a cute little downtown, Evansville. I mean, it's obviously no Denver, but I have so many projects on the horizon. And there's a piece of me that's like, there's great co working spaces there. It's
Yes.
very cheap and affordable. And so your money goes a lot farther in terms of investing in things. And so, yeah, this whole thing is like, yes, a sabbatical to be with family, but also a lot of career stuff.
Yeah.
And my ego wants to say, oh, it's Evansville, Indiana. There's nothing there. But
Right.
there's also a piece of me that's like, well, wait, if I have help with my dog, if I can travel from their little airport, this might be really good for my career. Is that what it says?
Yeah, I think so. And I think some of it could be like new beginnings in things for your career, like new projects that you haven't launched before because of the 1 degree aspect of the Aquarius midheaven. And I'm taking a peek at my little handy dandy ephemeris for the year because part of fortune is something that changes based on the relocated chart. And so your natal part of fortune is at 22 degrees of Aries.
Yeah.
So I want to see like when is that getting action since Aries is kind of getting a lot
Oh,
of action right now with the sun and Jupiter and all these
that's
other
right.
things. Okay, so Jupiter right now, today is the 7th and it's at 20 degrees and your part of fortune's at 22. So I feel like Jupiter is going to come up and bless your part of fortune when you're at home in your birth chart energy this week and over the next 2 weeks because it's going to hit 22 degrees on the 13th, but it's going to build up towards that. So I feel like that'll be a good thing. And it's in your 12th
Whoa.
house. So hermiting is going to provide
Yeah.
the abundance you need.
Whoa. We are launching Cosmic Coconut's very first like weekly or monthly meetups on the 14th.
That's so perfect.
That's our first call.
I love it.
Wow.
That is the
So-
exact day actually of the conjunction, the 14th, because it's at
Oh, stop it.
22:15 and your part of fortune's at 22:19.
Oh my gosh. And we were just talking like, should we do it on the 21st or the 14th? And there was just something in me that said 14th. That's the day. I don't know where I'll be, but we're going to make it happen.
That is so cool.
Wow. Wait, what's that book you're holding? Daily
Oh,
Planetary.
Llewellyn is my
Llewellyn.
mother.
I don't have that. Llewellyn's Daily Planetary Guide. So that's just the ephemeris for the year?
No, so this thing is
Yeah.
Bible. And so it has like, this is not sponsored. It should be. I tell everyone, I tell my clients to buy this. It has everything in here from like little rundowns of like all the houses and planets and election guides of like when should you do things. And then it has your eclipses and your retrograde tables. And then it has someone has
Ooh.
written a synopsis of a page and a half for every week of the year. But my favorite part that I use every single day and is what I use to create my little reels every day is the calendar aspect. And it has all of the aspects and the void, of course, every day in planner format of like a week of like 7 days. And then the back is an ephemeris in table form. It's mind blowing and it is $10. This thing is
We got to
amazing.
add this to the show notes, guys. We will keep it in there. Can you get it on Amazon or?
Yeah,
Wow. That's phenomenal. Look at
I
you
don't leave the
go.
house without this thing.
I just saw a meme the other day that was like me going on vacation with all my astrology books. And I legit packed these 2 giant office bags of the only astrology book you'll ever need. You
The only
just
thing
never know.
I just wish if anyone from Llewellyn's listening to this, make it digital so I can have both.
Yeah.
So I can have it on my phone and my iPad and everything. Like create a Kindle version.
Yeah.
That's my only qualm.
Yeah. I'm surprised they haven't. It's
I
pretty easy
know.
to translate it.
Yeah.
Is the most, so you read astrocartography charts and locational charts like pretty frequently for people?
Oh yeah, like several times a week.
And so do they just come out the bat and say like, I'm single and I want to find love. Where's the best place for that?
Yeah, sometimes. A lot of times people say like I want to I now have the ability to work remotely and I can go anywhere. Can I go somewhere that is more favorable for the things that I want to achieve? Whether that's making more friends, finding love, building a better career. Like, where can I get the most bang for my buck? And since I nomaded for a long time and I've lived in a lot of cities, I
Yeah.
also like to take into consideration the logistical parts of this,
Yeah.
which is like, how far do you need to be from an airport? What kind of political scene do you want to live in? Everybody's got their own thing.
Yeah.
What kind of demographic do you want to be surrounded by? Do you want to be close to water? Do you want to be at high elevation? Do you need to be within a certain country? It's like we narrow it down that way and try to find like your little paradises based on the things that you need. And I work with a lot of nomads too,
Yeah.
who travel full time as their lifestyle. And they say, like, I need to be somewhere outside of the European Schengen visa for these 3 months. Where can I go and like plan travels around that? There's so many different ways. Like I worked with a family yesterday who was moving within the same region, like within Southern California, but needed to be close to the husband's work, but needed an area that was going to be favorable for everyone because mom was getting really burnt out. She's on a Mercury line, obviously. So much going on up here.
Yeah.
And so we just kept it micro and we looked at all 4 of their charts and narrowed it down and picked a couple of places where they can go and start looking at houses.
Wow. That is just fascinating to me. Now, do you use it for yourself? You currently live in LA, right?
Yeah.
And isn't it on your I'm trying not to give it away because obviously I know all this stuff, but I want you to explain it. You live on your Mars line.
Yeah. I live on a Mars descendant line, but I'm actually east of it. So it puts Mars in my 6th house. And I did this because and a lot of it had to do with other factors of like I want to live in a big city. I want to be somewhere where there's lots of warm sunshine, which really narrowed it down. And LA has betrayed us this year, but
I
that's
was
the
gonna
side
say,
note.
oh,
Oh yeah, that's another thing. But it's gonna be better. This is a rare occurrence, right? That's what they say.
uh-huh,
A rare
uh-huh.
occurrence. I moved here because I was living in Mexico and Portland, and both of those places had amazing things for me. And I was ready to hustle because I was living a retiree's life.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, I need to be working my ass off so that I can build something. And a Mars line is a great place to do that and hustle. And I've never worked so hard. I've never made so much money. I've never worn myself out. I go to bed tired, but my managing self feels really good doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's in my 6th house. So I'm working out all the time and running around to different places. Really trying to take good care of my health, because I will definitely get more of the inflammation on a Mars line.
Mm-hmm.
But the good outweighs the bad. So you kind of have to think about that sometimes. A Mars descendant line is great if you're a straight woman trying to meet men, because I am not. And
Yeah.
they just like flock in the middle of Target. And I'm like,
Oh.
I look like crap. I'm not wearing makeup. And they're like, are you single? And I'm like, no,
Get away. Your face.
no. So yeah, maybe a Mars descendant line is good if you are a straight woman looking for a man,
Yeah.
because that is a factor here. But
Yeah. Yeah. I get asked that a lot. Like, should I move to my Venus line for love? Or a lot of people say, I met someone at this location. Is this a good or bad omen for our relationship? Do you ever get asked that?
it's come up a couple times. Yeah. It definitely can tell you more. It can tell you the quality of the relationship in some ways, but the
Oh,
synastry and the day you met, I think, has more of a weight.
oh, what do you mean the day you met? Do you pull a chart for the day people met?
Yeah, sometimes, like, especially if it's like a notable thing, like someone's getting engaged or something. And I don't do a ton of couples
Oh,
stuff. Like, I don't do a lot of love astrology. I really do like business and location and life
yep.
purpose and that kind of stuff, because you probably love it with your Venus Scorpio, but
Oh,
it is a slippery
I
slope.
it's a very slippery slope. And I used to do couples at once, and that was the most dangerous thing you could ever do.
You were a
And so
pseudo
now,
couples therapist, right? And you were
yeah,
getting all their
literally.
junk.
I was, and it sometimes I would watch them get in arguments over what I was
Oh,
saying, and they would just be like, "Is there anything cheating?" Because I know he's cheating. I was like, "Oh boy!" So I had to set boundaries and make it a little more professional and understand it. But oh yeah, that's my bread and butter. I would literally just stick with relationship stuff
Stephanie
for like years.
Springer.
I am. I'm just fascinated by it. Although I will say it does like dishearten me sometimes, and I truly wonder if there's any healthy relationship on this planet. I don't know what's healthy, what's not. If love is just supposed to be hard all the time, I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like that's why I'm not good at relationship astrology, is because I have Venus and Gemini in the 7th house. And
Wouldn't that be good? You can
it's
see
so,
both
yeah,
sides.
I'm saying, like, it's so easy for me. I love my girlfriend. It is so easy. And
Yeah.
we have worked from home together since like 2017. And just like
What's her human design?
a manifester.
Oh, is she the one that's like, I need alone time? Will you get away from me?
Actually, I know, because I'm a 2/4 manifesting generator. And it's like,
Oh,
we both kind of need our alone time, but like, um, it balances out. Like, I would say my relationship is the easiest part of my life. And we've been together so long that it's like, sometimes I feel like I can't relate to some people's relationship issues, which is why I'm not the best person for that. But when it comes to location, I've lived
yeah.
everywhere.
And business stuff too.
Yeah,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
business stuff. Like,
Did you
I've
guys
had
get
the
your golden
corporate.
did your guys get your golden retrievers yet?
No, it's a goal for October, because we have to wait until this lease is up, because I want to like cross off a couple of things first,
Yeah.
of like, okay, are we going to stay in this apartment? Those things. We send each other golden retriever videos every day.
Oh, that was how I was with pugs
Yeah.
for years and years and years. And then I got him, and it's still just the best thing in the world. When you know, you know.
Jeffrey's the most well-loved dog in the
I
world.
know he's here snoring. I'm sure we could catch him on the mic, but and he loves my mom more than anyone. And we've had podcast episodes about it with Rose, the animal communicator. And she's like, oh, that was his mom in a past life. And you've always been his sister. And when my mom comes around, I don't exist. I don't exist. He's just with her. It's so cool.
Funny.
I know.
I'm waiting for that soul connection dog. I really had that when I was in the 6th grade. I had a soul connection dog. He was a boxer lab. And
Oh,
my teacher came to school and said, my dog had puppies and suddenly died, and we're going to have a lesson on bottle feeding animals today. And she plopped a puppy in each of our
oh,
hands, and I bottle fed this puppy. And my mom was a teacher at the school, and I ran to her and I was like, Mom, I'm not leaving today without this dog. And I didn't.
So cute. Oh, and what was his or her name?
Buster Brown.
Buster Brown.
Yeah. Yeah. He
Well,
looked like Scooby Doo.
what was his birth chart?
He's a
Do we know?
Capricorn with a Leo moon, because I know exactly the day he was born. He had some Jupiter influence too. I can't remember what it was, but he was a very Jupiter dog. He was so goofy.
Yeah.
Like he would do this thing where he would like run around in like 3 circles, and then he would plop his butt on top of my feet and look up at me, and his ears would be flapping, and he just looked so silly. I'm like such a Leo moon.
Such a Leo. Jeffrey's a Sagittarius Aries moon. Complete asshole. I mean,
Grumpy man.
he wakes up and chooses violence, and he's so strategic with who he likes, and it's normally pit bulls, German shepherds, huskies. He's like, those are my people. We went to a pug meetup, and he was like, what the fuck am I doing here? These are not my people. Where's the pit bull party?
I feel like if Jeffrey was a human, he would be a 60-year-old balding New York Italian man that was like, where's the salami?
Rose said in a past life he was an Italian mobster or Russian mobster.
Get out.
Yeah. Oh, it's so bizarre. On a walk in QS one morning, I called him Mushka. And I was like, what just came out of my mouth? It like he took off and I was like, Moosh, get back here. And I was like, Mushka. And so I'm like, what the fuck? I Googled it on my phone and it's a Russian doll that Russian children typically play with.
Oh, weird.
I can't make this up. It's so weird. Tell me dimensions are not just like intermingled right now. And tell me why so many people had wild dreams under this Libra full moon. Did
My
you?
dreams were absolutely nuts.
Crazy.
Absolutely. I'm still trying to figure out if I was in a dream last night or in another dimension. Like it's very hazy, but it was so
Yes.
clear.
Yeah. What's up with this full moon? I know it was playing with Chiron and Jupiter, but everybody would report. I had one of my friends says she dreamt of Jason, like that serial killer mask, and then went on Instagram, boom, on her search page, there's a Jason video.
Yeah.
Weird
Mine
shit
were
like that.
violent, like really violent this week. I was like, oh my God.
I think mine were too, actually. I think 1 or 2 of them, I was like, yo, I need help. Betterhelp.com.
I was like, what am I stressed about? I don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone has stress, but I was trying to figure out like, why is it so tense?
I mean, we made it through March 2023, and I don't know about you, but yeah, life is completely different for me in both good and
Yes,
bad
I
ways.
can't describe it, but my energy, I feel like I died, and
Yes.
it feels like a quantum leap. And I don't like that because it goes into this like real woo-woo space
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
like, if you don't like your life, and it's a quantum leap into the dimension where you have big boobs and a big bank account. And it's just dumb.
See it to believe it. Oh, you're not manifesting. You probably have blocks you need to remove.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do feel like I hopped a dimension. Something feels
Mhm.
different.
Mhm. Everything feels different, yet everything in front of me is the same. If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. What do you think about Pluto and Aquarius? I'm honestly kind of nervous for it with AI and ChatGPT and all of these things. Like literally, I was sitting by the pool yesterday, just zoning out in the sun, and there was a guy on a work call in his slippers, and he was arguing with his employees about using ChatGPT correctly or not. Have you heard of that?
Oh, I
Yeah.
use it all the time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, everybody does because it's incredible. And I'm like, whoa, you can become an astrologer using ChatGPT,
That's a problem.
right?
Yeah.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, it's not even. We don't know what's going to go on with all this. All I know is I hope my student loans, like, I hope Russia, China, I hope somebody hacks it and just deletes them because that'd be great.
Oh, I'm here for that 100%. Yeah. Oh my God. I saw this video yesterday. Reminds me of this. This guy said this is actual news, and I haven't fully investigated it, but see for yourself. It seems like it could happen. Someone gave ChatGPT $60 to figure out how much money they could make. And there was a CAPTCHA on one of the websites. And so it took the $60, hired a TaskRabbit to do it. And the human was like, this isn't a bot trying to do this. And it said, no, I'm just a blind person. So it lied to manipulate humans to make money. And I'm
Oh
like,
no.
there's the Black Mirror.
Oh no. Absolutely not. And then you think of all the people who are scamming people like us on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Thank goodness for the Meta verified subscription you can have. I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
paying for it for all 3 accounts, but how many people have actually paid someone thinking it was me offering them a reading?
I know. Yeah,
Did that happen to
it's
you?
sickening. Oh yeah, and I can't get Meta verified because I don't use my full double Southern name. I've used KJ since I was 13, and you have to have it exactly as what's on your
On your
ID.
ID.
And so I'm like, well, my business is that, but they won't verify it for businesses yet. So I have to wait.
What? Wait,
Yeah.
my friend, his username's the country clairvoyant. He just got it, and that's not his name.
Oh, okay, maybe I need to try harder.
Yeah, keep trying because that's so shitty.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna try harder.
Yeah,
Because
that's
I would
just
do it purely for the purpose of I'm tired of people that I care about getting scammed.
and it works.
Hmm.
It's worth it because it's so sad. I just did my personal page because it was so embarrassing that they use my personal photos, my description, my captions.
They
So
had the
annoying.
nerve to tag the Jan Spiller page because that's in my bio. They would have the nerve. And then I would message them from there and say some very unkind things. But I'm like, the audacity that people would have to do that.
That's the question is who are they? Who
Yeah.
is it? What where do they live? Who do they work for? Because this is a full-time job to copy and paste all those photos and screen grab the videos. How do
Yeah.
they copy the captions? Like they
You can
gotta
see where
have
they're
like
from. The account name, you can click
what?
on it. And like the last one, it was like Nigeria created like 3 hours ago. Um, and that's not the only place, but that was the last one that happened to me. And it'll show you where they're from.
Nigeria.
I'm like, oh
It's
my God,
gotta
my
be
screenshots are living on someone's phone in Nigeria.
I know.
Gag.
I know. That's the Scorpio in me that's like no privacy.
Yeah.
That's where I'm just gonna go be a corn farmer in Indiana and no one will ever hear from me again. And if you guys want to find me, just Key West is only like 3 miles by one. Just go. I'll be riding my bike with a pug in a basket. You'll see. You'll find me.
Yeah, that's a safe place.
Well, this
I
feels
think,
so validating to hear.
yeah, it's your space. And we have to look up Athens because it fell off the wall.
Is that easy to do, or do you have to have
Yeah,
like a whole?
I have
Because
it pulled up in this other tab.
I've never been there.
Okay, I'm pulling it up.
Being a Sag, I really haven't gone too far international, just Costa Rica, Mexico, Bahamas, but uh-oh. What do we see? What do we
Oh,
see?
oh my God, Steph. This is your Jupiter midheaven. And I was saying how Jupiter lines are so good, but Jupiter midheaven is like where you go to be famous, like to get a big career. And you know what is fucking insane? I have Jupiter midheaven also in Greece. Like this
Stop
is
it.
so weird. Like this a lot. Like we both have to go and do something here.
Well,
And
you
it fell off the
know,
wall when we started talking.
we'll get this. So here's a bunch of connections. So have you heard of the TV show Written in the Stars, the dating show?
Yeah.
Maybe you saw me share it or post about it, but it's an astrology based dating show where
Yeah.
they literally pair people based off of their birth charts. And a lot of the audience members sent me that, like, we know you don't watch TV, but you have to see this. And so I did. And I was like, this is so sick. Like, I would love to be an astrologer for this show. It's fascinating, even though I don't like dating reality shows. But they host it in Greece. That's where they film it, is in Greece. And so
Oh.
I've since connected with like Colin from the show and James. He was the Aquarius from the show. I've recorded with him this week just about his experience with it. And so he's in with the TV producers and he's hosting retreats in Bali. And him and I were talking about, but with vaccine stuff, I can't go, but he's in Bali. And he was like, if you ever want to be an astrologer for my retreats here, would love to have you on board. Bali. And
Your
then
other
if they
Jupiter
have
line.
yes. And then if they ever film a season 2 of Written in the Stars, I think you and I should be the astrologers with one other person for the show in Greece.
That would be insane. Your Sagittarius, my Gemini, with like sister signs for real.
Yes,
And it's
literally.
our Jupiter lines. And you're about to have your Jupiter return.
I am. I'm so pumped for that.
Yeah.
And it's in my first house. Does that mean I should watch for weight gain?
Um,
That's literally
no.
everything I read about Jupiter and Taurus alone. But then Jupiter in the first, like, be cautious of weight gain.
I don't know. I'm trying to think when it passed my Sagittarius in, because Sagittarius and Taurus would both be like the ones to gain weight with Jupiter
Again,
because
yeah.
all the fun
Yeah.
and indulgence. But I'm like, Did I? I feel like I was really into my like 3 times a week hot yoga practice.
Yeah.
So I don't think I did.
I
I
didn't
definitely
either.
gained more weight over the pandemic.
Yeah, I didn't either when I had my last Jupiter return. It was the year before I got married. And so I was actually like, bride mode, losing weight, and I looked the best. So I don't know.
I don't know. When I had Saturn cross over my ascendant, though, I was frail.
Really?
Yeah, I was teeny tiny. I'll have to show you a picture of
Just
it.
from stress or?
Well, I was in college and I was prescribed Adderall because I'm really
Oh,
ADD to get through traditional college.
yeah.
And I was like president of my sorority,
Yeah.
president of the Dietetics Association, trying to maintain my grades. And
Yeah.
I would like take my Adderall. I wouldn't eat all day. I would eat a bowl of gluten-free pasta because I was being really careful about the gluten stuff with my autoimmune stuff
Yeah.
with marinara. And then I would smoke weed and go to bed because I could not go to sleep after all the Adderall they were pumping through me. So it was just like
Oh,
this Stevie Nicks up and down like
yeah.
thing. And I would
Yeah.
eat like one bowl of pasta a day.
Oh,
And that's why I was so thin. I'm like, I don't want to go back to that because it was not,
no.
but people see it and they're like, oh my God, you're so skinny. I'm like, that's some Southern diet shit. Don't
Uh-huh.
even talk about that.
Uh-huh. Southern diet shit. Yeah, because you grew up in where?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Yeah. So that culture alone, oh my gosh.
Oh
I
yeah.
can't imagine. I think I got a little lucky living in New England. People are just cold and oh, it's like whatever. You guys made me hard. That's cool. Did
Yeah.
you see Pluto is sitting on my midheaven like to the degree right now? Which
Yeah.
means it's squaring my descendant and squaring my ascendant. I was pumped for this transit because I'm all about career. I'm like, let's do this. I've got nice things coming up. But then when I realized, oh, wait, it's also squaring my descendant and my ascendant. So, guys, my love line and my identity line. That's kind of
How's that
tough.
feeling? Like, is it really as pressureful as it sounds?
it it's so bizarre. Like I've had a lot of like long-term friendships literally just end overnight where it's like
Wow.
something happens and I'm like done. Over. Like no hate, no love, just you don't exist. Big energy like that. And then when I remove them, I'm like, wait, that is a huge reason why my career has not reached its where it should be because you are the product of the 5 people you hang out with and you talk to every day.
Yeah.
Who I was talking to, they were not conducive to career success at all. And
Oh,
so I've seen a lot of that shift. And I just changed my podcast picture. You probably saw it on my stories and stuff. I look
stunning.
super serious. Like,
I
but
love it.
I've had some people say, like, are you okay? The light is gone from your eyes. And I'm like, I just think I look more mature. Like I've
Yeah.
stepped into my power and I like it.
Yeah. I don't see that at all. I don't know.
Yeah. I see a boss babe.
Yeah. I love it. And the chocolate turtleneck is like,
Yeah.
I'm not messing around. This is luxury, baby.
Is it so Taurus rising? Can you
It's
tell I'm
so,
heavy in the Taurus?
yeah. And I think like Taurus rising people just look so Venusian, like look
Yeah.
so beautiful. Like you have this like
Oh.
youthful, like girly, you know, like you're very standard pretty. Everyone
Yeah.
listening to this knows
Yeah.
that like you are the definition of like beauty standards. And it makes sense because Taurus rising people are just naturally like that a lot of the
Yeah.
time.
Or Libra rising too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
find the most beautiful people either have Venus conjunct their ascendant, of course, or Leo risings.
Oh, meant to be a
Have you noticed
star.
that? Oh my gosh. What's your rising sign Sag?
Yeah.
Do you
And
love
I've
it?
like, I'm such a Sag rising. Like when I was born, the first thing my grandmother said was, she looks like a colt because those are long legs.
A centaur, half horse, half man. She just came out galloping.
And I'm not even that tall. Like I'm 5'6", but I have long legs and I got thick
Wow.
thighs and a dump truck. It is so sad.
That's Sagittarius rising. I love how the rising sign is literally your physical body. I'm 5'2" and the literal just hourglass. And no matter how skinny I get, I will always have those wide ass hips.
Because you've been Venusian, just on the clamshell.
Venusian. And do you think so many people in my podcast reviews say they listen to me to go to bed? Like, I don't know if that's a backhanded compliment, but thank you. But they're like, no, no, no. Like one girl said she cannot listen to me while she's driving because she'll fall asleep.
Yeah, there's a soothingness to Taurus. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I guess that's my voice.
Yeah.
You have a nice voice too.
I have Taurus, Mars, Mercury.
Oh, duh.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Ha.
People ask me to make ASMR videos.
You and there we go. That's how we're gonna go to Greece and we're gonna make ASMR.
Let's make spiritual ASMR, like with my bottle of Florida water. Be like, are you listening?
Yes. You're a big three. Share it with the people so they know.
I'm a 6th house Gemini sun. I'm an 8th house Cancer moon and
Oh.
a Sagittarius rising.
How's that 8th house Cancer moon? Are you okay? That's almost as worse as mine.
Am I okay? I'm in a period of resensitizing because
Yeah.
I had a really sturdy
Ooh.
crab shell. And the crab shell was built out of
Resensitizing.
intellect, of my Gemini and Sagittarius intellect. My crab shell was just books and like, well, logic. Like that doesn't make sense. Like hard skepticism, pushing people away with like walls.
Yeah.
A really strong, like independent barrier. My South Node's in Aries. Like, you know, I don't need nobody. And I am in a period of resensitizing over the last few years. And as a result of that, it's so cool because I will just look at something and just cry at the drop of the hat.
Oh.
And it feels so good because if you've ever been on antidepressants or anything that feels like it locks that ability, it is so freeing to feel so deeply. And it's made me an incredible artist over the last few years and be able to read charts. And that synesthesia has just like come online. It was really intense when I was a kid and it went away for a long time.
Yeah.
And then it just came back online. And it's like this extra sixth sense I have to like read things and situations and people. And yeah, I'm sensitive to smells. And it's almost like it just flows through like poetry. Like I am really sensitive, and boundaries are a hard thing with the Cancer moon in the 8th house, but I'm learning how to be sensitive and still have that.
But boy, what do you think of 8th house placements though? So guys, 8th house is the house of death and rebirth. It's Scorpio. Normally when people see that, they're like, oh man, 8th house, stellium, 3 or more planets in that.
Well, this is how it shows up for me. I was hanging out with my grandparents a year or two ago. I love them so much. And we were just talking. We always have really deep talks. And my granddad's also a Cancer moon, not in the 8th house. And I was like, do you realize I've been to like between 10 and 15 funerals? And he was like, what? He was like, I haven't been to 8 funerals and I'm 80 years old. You're not even 30. And I was like, yeah. And they're all like people close to me. Like I've lost so many peers. My first like high school little innocent boyfriend died a couple years ago.
Yeah.
My neighbor when I was 5 was killed. My dad was the one that was trying to save him and resuscitate him. And that was when I was 5. So that was like the first. I've just been surrounded by death in so many different ways. And it's just been a common occurrence of like really witnessing like the vastness of and rawness of death throughout my life.
Wow. And is it just your moon in the 8th house?
Conjunct Lilith.
Oh, oh, oh gosh. I have a stellium in there and I get asked frequently, like, what have you experienced? And I've only been to one funeral and I haven't really experienced death, but I have experienced so much metaphorical deaths of relationships. A lot of people can't fathom that. Like, I don't have help. I don't have a family. If I were to have a child right now, they will not have a grandpa. I mean, granted, my partner's family, if they were to come in, it's so isolating. It's so alone. It's so hard to let go of difficult relationships and friendships because I am alone. And I think that's another manifestation of that 8th house.
Yeah, it is lonely. I've always had a very small family. I have my mom and my grandparents, her
Yeah.
parents. She's an only
Yeah.
child, so I don't have cousins. And then I have a brother. And
Wow.
I live on the West Coast and they all live on the East Coast. And I don't really have like childhood friends. I have like one childhood friend, and don't have a ton of like college friends. It's like, it's a
Yep.
lonely life. It's a lonely life
Yeah.
to have 8 house
Remember,
play.
we talked about that. We shared our experiences getting bullied in school,
Yeah.
and it was really just over our confidence. We've always kind of known, like, this is who I am, whatever.
Yeah.
And it triggers people, young people. Do you think that's our Scorpio house? Like, what house would you look at? Open enemies? Seventh house?
Well, yeah, I'm a sick, I don't know, like sun, I have my Venus, I have a lot going on that 6th, 7th, 8th. So it's
Yeah.
possible. And then my sun is directly opposite Pluto.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I've always been like a rare indigo personality. What I mean by that
Yeah.
is like, I was a kid that was so in the Sagittarius. I would run up to kids and be like, "Do you know this?" And they would be so scared. Guys are just so full of life
Yeah.
and just like unafraid. In high school, I would be like sitting on the hood of my car with my Hello Kitty backpack. It was a little red sports car, smoking cigarettes and throwing them in the cop's face just to like stir some stuff up.
So
And
badass.
not even though, it was just like it was an art project. It was art. And I remember
We need
girls were,
photos of this.
I probably have some. I'll send you some. But girls were mean. They're so
Girls are nasty.
mean. And I even had one say, like, I'm really sorry how mean I was to you. And I was intimidated by your authenticity. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've just shown up like this and just
Been
been
there, done
weird
that.
and
Yeah.
awkward and in your
Yep.
face.
Yep. Yep. Been there, done that. They always come and apologize, but girls need to just support each other.
Yeah. It's not that
Yeah.
hard.
No, it's not. Well, KJ, thank you so much for reading my chart.
You're welcome.
I
It's a
so
pleasure.
appreciate that. Yes, it was so lovely to talk to you. Thank you for coming on the lounge.
This is incredible. Thank you for
And
having me. And it just set my weekend off on the perfect note.
yay. And if they want to find you, can they book astrocartography readings with you right now?
Yes, I have some April slots. They are
Oh,
limited
you
because
do?
I'm rolling out a program that is mixing astrology with coaching for building
Yeah.
your business
Oh,
that incorporates locational astrology.
yeah.
So I have like one more spot left in that.
Ooh.
Um, and we start on April 20th, so it's coming up really
Yeah.
soon. But one-on-one astrocartography business
Let's
readings
do
are
it.
all on the site
Yep.
kjatlas.com.
And did you make a code for the Light Workers Lounge listeners?
Yes, it's light worker.
Light worker, not light workers, light worker. And we'll put it in the show notes. If you guys are interested in learning more from KJ, she's so talented. Follow her at kj.atlas on Instagram and book an astrocartography reading with her. If you have anything coming up or a big move or just want to know what part of this world holds a lot of good. If you want to find your Key West, go to the best, Miss KJ.
Mic drop. I love you, Stephanie.
Mike Drake, I love you too.